is Trev Retro with Monday Night Mayhem. And joining me tonight is the one, the only. He's multiply adaptable. He has loads of flexible ports. He's our very own sex droid, Z3PO. Hello, sir.
Oh, bend over, you hunky bear.
Do you know, a guy stopped me in the vape store last week and said, "Who's that gay guy you've got on your stream? He sounds really sexy." I said, "He's not gay." I said, he's not even fucking happy." How are you, Z3PO?
I'm very well, thank you, Mr. Trevor. Looking forward to our breakdown of Skeleton Crew today.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to roast it delicately, lightly, and then we might go in with the blowtorch about 10 minutes before we wrap up talking about Skeleton Crew.
Yes,
and
scorched earth at the end.
Yeah, and speaking of flambéed, we've got a very special guest. The one, the only, the Cookery Help Desk. Hello, Chef Cookery Help Desk.
Where's the lamb sauce?
Hello.
In the cupboard, third shelf.
Oh, good. Yes, beside the cranberry. I see it now. Hi, good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Hello there.
Yes, pretty good. A little bit upset. I've tried to sort of like broaden my horizons when it comes to, movies and stuff. So I decided to watch some old Steven Seagal movies. God, they're shit. so bad.
He's only good at lard, let's face it.
He's not even good at that.
True. Well, I don't know. Have you seen the size of him these days? He makes me look slim.
He's a very chunky boy.
He is, isn't he?
There was one I watched called Sniper. He has a rifle, and you know that rest that you put on your shoulder? It butts up against your shoulder as you're firing. Well, that's up beside his ear.
Nice.
And he's looking down the gun, but beside the sight. And it's awful.
Yes, and on that note, he's fashionably late, but he's here. The one, the only, Swappers. Hello, sir.
Hey, how we doing?
Well, I'm all right. I can't see your avatar. What is it?
I'm not sure if anyone can see it. I can see it, but it's a picture of an elderly Luke Skywalker wearing a T-shirt saying "Ban's the Last Jedi."
Is he eating porridge?
He's eating something like that. Probably crunchy
humble
secret
pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he said he's coming off of social media in protest at Trump's inauguration, and then 8 hours later posted again on X.
Do you know something? My heart's pumping purple piss for that guy. I feel so sorry for him. And he's such a hypocrite. I used to think the world of Mark Hamill, but when he did Cockknocker in Jay and Silent Bob, that cemented him as an iconic pop culture star. And then he's just turned into this like mega simp. He's like everybody's white knight, but he's not really very good at it, to be fair. And then to top it all off, right, he's got all this money. And then outside a recording studio, somebody snaps him stealing cigarette ends out of an ashtray. Did anybody see those pictures?
No.
Yes.
I haven't.
How bad is
I'll
that?
go searching for them then.
Yeah,
I did also see the ones of him charging 700 quid for an autograph photo.
Yeah, that's when I decided that he was a bit of a wrong un.
Yeah, not great. I mean, he's actually turned into Jake Skywalker from The Last Jedi.
Maybe he's turned into like an evolved form of Cockknocker.
Maybe.
Or devolved.
Well, either or. But I don't know. I would not pay money for that man to put a biro on a bit of paper and scribble his name.
Certainly not.
He's gone south really ever since the TDS started, hasn't he? A few years back.
Well, yeah.
Before that, he was kind of all right, but then all his kind of his deep-seated deviancy and political warped behaviour just has all seeped out from him online, and everyone's seen him for what he is. Sadly,
he's become like the evil emperor after all, hasn't he? He's become a Sith.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, have you noticed all these celebrities? They're great up to a point. And then you bring politics into the mix, and then, wheels come firmly crashing off.
Yeah.
And that's it.
They should just be wise enough to know to keep their business and their personal political beliefs out of it completely. Just be completely private about your political beliefs, because there's no way you can. You might have a massive fan base. There's no way you're going to get them on side by halving them down the middle between where which side you sit on. So just stay quiet on it and just be the online personality that people want you to be. Never
Exactly
be.
right.
Do you know
Because-
something? Right. As the Americans say, he should stay in his lane.
Exactly. When you nail your flag to a political mask, you instantly alienate half of your audience.
Mm.
And it's most distasteful. I mean, I'm a bit of a lefty at heart, but even I find Mark Hamill too much.
Oh dear. Anyway, on that bombshell, and speaking of Star Wars and the like, we're going to have a bit of a roast tonight. And I know a couple of you guys have already been down this route, but I thought, considering that Skeleton Crew is doing so well in the ratings, I thought we'd have a bit of a chomp at the bit, because Game Rants made a big thing about this, about Skeleton Crew's ratings setting a new franchise low. Now, according to Nielsen's December 2nd to the 8th figures, based on streaming data, Star Wars Skeleton Crew premiered with the lowest viewership of any Star Wars series in its first week ever. The 2-episode premiere scored less than 382 million minutes watched. That's roughly 20% lower than the ratings for the Acolyte's premiere week, the previous record holder for the lowest viewership of any Star Wars series debut. Star Wars Skeleton Crew also became the first series in the franchise to fail to debut in Disney Plus's top 10 originals. But the question is, right, people, are they just tired? Is it franchise burnout? Are Disney banging stuff out too quick? Or did the Acolyte damage any chances of the Skeleton Crew becoming remotely popular? And I'll pass that over to Swappers first.
I think it might be a mixture of all of the above, to be honest with you. Although I think fans and also casuals have just had enough of Disney's dreck after being promised this wonderful thing by the trailer and what's going to come down the line on Disney Plus. They think they're actually going to get the money's worth out of their subscription, and they tune into something like Ahsoka or the Book of Boba Fett or Mando Season 3 or whatever. And they've all been garbage, Kenobi, you name it. And they're just let down every single time. And I think that one, we'll give it the next series and it'll be good. We'll just wait till the next series and that'll be better. And I think they've just been saying that to themselves too many times. And then Acolyte came along and it just wiped the landscape. And everyone just went, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. And they just went, they abandoned it. And then putting the Skeleton Crew out there afterwards, expecting people to come back after that much crap that's been shoveled towards them, I think was probably just a step too far, and people have just looked at it and gone, that's not enough to get me back, sorry. There's no characters I recognize in it. It just looks like a generic sci-fi show with a Star Wars label on it. I can't be bothered. Maybe I'll catch it sometime down the line. I don't care. It might get more viewership, a year or two's time, when people kind of might not have anything to watch and go back to it. But as far as premiere period goes, when it's actually being broadcast, you can't blame people for not doing it.
I don't blame you. And I don't think it's a case of, one fuck up. I think it's the power of many fuck ups.
Power of many.
Ooh, I'm a space lesbian.
Hey, don't knock lesbian space witches. It's really popular on Pornhub.
Well, I'll defer to your better judgment in that department there. I was just thinking, though, is it down to Dave Filoni? Is he one of the major reasons that things are going south? Or is it, John Favreau? Or is it DEI? What do we think about that, Z?
I think it's Lucasfilm as a whole, to be honest with you. It's what they've got planned out is just to continue and build upon the sequel trilogy without comprehending what made Star Wars great in the first place. And they've just been going down this path of it's just a never-ending cycle of diminishing returns with every single thing that they release. I mean, you probably remember that we were right back there when Star Wars was released, and long before they had A New Hope added to it. And it showed us things we'd never seen before, pioneering special effects, model work, strange alien creatures, and space wizards with flicking laser swords. We genuinely believed in a galaxy far, far away where everything could happen. And then we got the prequel trilogy. It was wooden as fuck, but fondly remembered at this point. And I think it's fair to say that all of us, not just here but in chat as well, have invested a significant portion of our lives in Star Wars. You know, not just as fans, but I used to deal in Star Wars toys, and some people collect Star Wars toys. I understand that Brian has got, you know, quite a nice collection of the things. And decades of loving this IP has taken place. And then we got the sequel trilogy, which broke the fandom in half. And instead of bringing Han, Luke, and Leia together, they killed them off one by one and replacing them with that Mary Sue identity thief Ray Palpatine, and completely wasting every other character, especially John Boyega, who's absolutely done the dirty, and I'll die on that hill. We've had a bunch of shitty TV series. I mean, Mandalorian season 1 was okay. We were like, oh, you know, we'll have a bit more of that. And then season 2 came along, and that was okay. And kind of some of us forgave Luke Skinwalker. And then we got the Book of Boba Fett. And the less said about that, the better. I mean, even Tamura Morrison came out and said they didn't understand the character. It was supposed to be talk less, helmet more. And then we got Obi-Wan fucking Kenobi in 2022 with all the lightsaber scenes shot in the dark by someone who operating some sort of shaky cams. It may as well have been Michael J. Fox. And the plot was so bloody dumb. Ewan McGregor had to release the hostage video calling us bigots and racists to cover for their woeful ineptitude. Andor was okay. It's a little bit boring, but I'm still invested in it. But no fuck, I watched it. Then we got season 3 of The Mandalorian, which was just a pile of soy-based simpery, which relied far too much on suddenly dinosaurs to progress the plot. And they fired Gina Carano due to peer pressure, so fuck Disney, and I hope they lose their court case.
Don't hold back, see?
No, I'm not going to. Then we got Ahsoka, which is about an arthritic middle-aged woman swinging glow sticks, and a war criminal called Sabine Wren, who abandoned her cat and literally brought back space Goebbels because she missed a work colleague she's not seen for 2 decades. And to even have even slightest Scooby-Doo what's going on, you're required to watch 2 animated series worth of fucking homework. And then there was the straw that broke the camel's back, The Acolyte, a farcical fan fiction from the personal assistant of one of Hollywood's biggest predators, where we get introduced to lesbian fucking space witches and learn about changing your allegiances because of some evil Sith Lord dick. We're at saturation point. We're bombarded with bullshit. Even the most hardened fans are starting to turn around, and they're so tired of Disney Lucasfilm spewing out shit on our screens without any due care of attention. And it actually breaks our hearts to see what we love so much get destroyed in what can only be described as an act of cultural vandalism. So we don't go into these things wanting to hate them. We want to love them. We love fucking Star Wars. We just do not love Disney Star Wars. And they did this to themselves. They had a license to print money, and they flushed it down the toilet.
Do you know, you make some very good points. And it's almost as if Disney became like a factory process, and they were just banging out all this crap repetitively and just branding whatever with Star Wars, you know? Instead of things actually being in context of the universe of Star Wars, I mean, you've got stuff like Skeleton Crew, which is like, it's not even Star Wars light, is it, if you think about it? Well, I think that's a very, very interesting deep dive. Help desk, what do you think?
Well, aside from the fact that I'm trying not to reiterate everything Z has just said, because everything he said is completely true. But what I was going to say is this is not Star Wars. And I can prove this by the simple thing. I've said this since episode 1. If you cut the budget in half, you took the Star Wars label off it, and you just made it kids in space, treasure planet, pirates. You just made it Treasure Island in space, it would be a good series.
Hmm.
If there's no IP attached to it and it's just its own individual independent thing, it would be a compelling story.
Do you know what? You just made me realise this might be what they're doing, or like generic sci-fi ideas that they've had in the pipeline for ages. They didn't know what to do with, and they thought, let's just stick a Star Wars logo on it and change the characters a bit and then release it.
It's the same thing I said about Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. They had an idea for a thing, thought it wasn't strong enough, so they stuck the Star Trek logo on it. And that's what they did with this. They just stuck Star Wars on it and hoped people bought it.
Yeah, filled it full of member areas, relied far too much on 80s nostalgia, and they just didn't focus on the plot when they should have done that. Let's put this in there. They'll recognize that. What about this? You remember this? Remember this? I remember.
Yeah, remember Barry.
It
So bad.
just shows you when the writing's crap, let's stick a load of member berries in it. That'll make up for any lacking in plot or character development or, people that you want to root for. Has there even been a Disney Star Wars character that any of you can say, yeah, come on, I'm behind that guy, I'm really rooting for him? Because I can't think of anybody.
Well, I can think of one. It might be tenuous, but I'd have to say Cara Dune, for me, is probably the only decent character that Disney have come up with so far. Baby Yoda could have been good, but they squandered that opportunity. But the only character I've genuinely liked, the only one I genuinely liked was Gina Carano's character.
Yeah.
You're just thinking of the jugs, you perv.
I'm surprised you didn't
Mando
say...
was really good in season 1 and 2, but then he turned into Bo-Katan's simp, and it all went down the shitter from there for me.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett? Because I thought that it was a bit of a shaky start, and then it started getting somewhere, and then it just turned into simpy shit.
Yeah. I mean, you got a 2-episode interlude with the Mandalorian shoehorned in for some reason, just so that they can explain why Baby Yoda's back with him, completely undoing everything they did in the second season. And it was bloody ridiculous. It just didn't make any kind of sense. And they ruined a good thing.
The only thing I liked about Mandalorian, was it the end of season 2 where Luke Skywalker comes back into it to, basically nick off with Grogu.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the only bit that I enjoyed watching.
But then it weirds you out that the character is actually over 50 years old.
Yeah, I know. I bet any money, if Luke Skywalker was BBC inclined, he'd have been very disappointed. How old are you, kid? I'm 50. Oh, bloody hell, way too old.
I just don't fancy talking to you.
You're 45 years too old, love.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Yoda was a Jedi Master at 100. How much growing is he going to do? I think at this point in time, he's actually around 57 years old.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, they might be able to pass it off for the fact that he was maybe traumatized by something in the past, and he's kind of gone within himself, and he can't express himself properly. But they still in 3 seasons didn't have him say one word or do anything other than eat a frog and puke something up. That was it.
I kind of got bored towards the end. Didn't he just end up with a button, a yes/no button?
Yeah.
Yes. No.
No, like those dogs on YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Let's go to Poundland, Space Poundland, and buy him a yes/no button.
In the gutted corpse of his former nanny.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's just weird. A little bit fucked up, I think, in places.
I think so. If I did that to my ex-nanny.
You had a nanny, blooming heck. I say, you'll be starting to sound like Platoon soon, because he's the ambassador, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
I love him to bits. That voice, honestly. Ooh, he Ferrero's my Rocher, something chronic.
Oh, yes, mine
and
too.
I'm not even that way inclined.
We love you.
You're someone employed for their voice as well. Blimey, what does that say?
I know. Ah, dear. It just, people all put up with anything these days.
which is unfortunate.
Well, you see, ever since like big celebrities like Cheggers passed away, there's been like a gap in the market for people with zero talent like myself to fill in. I miss Cheggers. Actually, I love Cheggers because he made me look hung.
I was just going to say, do you fancy yourself on that jungle program that you did?
Oh, Naked Jungle? No way, no way. My pith helmet is far too small, I'm afraid. You've got to feel sorry for Maggie Philbin, really.
Oh my God!
I bet you any money the best compliment he got in the bedroom was, "Is it in yet?"
Oh. Unfortunately, there were no gadgets on Tomorrow's World that could help their relationship.
No.
Unfortunately not.
Unless Judith Han had to physically put him in.
Oh my God!
Here today, we've found a new device. It's called the Fluffer.
If I remember right, wasn't William Woolard on Tomorrow's World at one point?
He might have been.
That'd have been funny, him narrating Cheggers'
Oh my God!
bedroom antics. That'd have been quite good, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'm taking us down a dark and deep tangent. And I'm not mentioning Maggie Philbin when I said dark and deep, but Skeleton Crew. Do you think that maybe the Disney marketing department had it in the back of their mind? We've got Jude Law. That'll lure the mums in. So if mum's watching this, right, they'll be bringing the kids, and then we've got an instant audience because you've got some 35-year-old lass who's swooning a bit over Jude Law while her kids are actually grinding their teeth thinking, Mum, this is crap. This is like a bad version of Goonies in space.
I don't think that's even what they thought.
Really?
It's just, no, because I mean, Jude Law, there's plenty of other things Jude Law's been in that's just better. Why, it's one of those weird things. Star Wars is always known as a boy brand.
Right.
A boy brand that women like. What they've tried to do is put Jude Law in to make women interested in it, but they're not. Jude Law appears in so many other things that they do like already. Why would they go off and watch something they're not interested in to start with? If that makes sense.
It does.
Yes. Yeah, you make a valid point there. Thing is, what would you think from your own perspectives? What's the only course correction that we can set here? Because it's not like dusting crops, is it?
Like dusting crops, boy, no.
Yeah. So what would put the Millennium Falcon back on course?
I personally think, and might be controversial, they need to Doctor Who it. Say it's going on hiatus for 18 months, leave it on a shelf for 20 years, and then bring it back with very little fanfare and just a cheap one-off and see if it works, and then slowly build it back up.
Yeah, maybe a 100-year gap, so that they can consign the sequel trilogy and everything associated with it to legends that people once heard about.
Bring back the extended universe, all the stuff that they got rid of before episode 7. There was thousands
didn't
of stories.
Kathleen Kennedy say, "Oh, we've got no material to work with"?
Yeah.
You literally have an entire library.
Yeah.
Do you
Hundreds of
think
authors.
Kathleen Kennedy purposely burnt her bridges with the extended universe on purpose just to shove the wheelbarrow full of crap that she was going to wheel out?
No,
because it wouldn't give anyone an option to do anything else then, would it? It's like that old adage, isn't it, about the warriors that sailed to the foreign country to conquer it, and they burnt their boats on the shore, so they'd have no way of getting home again. So they had only one choice, and that was to press onwards, no matter how arduous the task or how shit they were as warriors, basically. So by doing that, by completely disowning anything that's come before, Kathleen said, well, we've got to do what we want to do now because there's nothing else to draw anything from. We've burnt all that. We've got to create a load of crap, and people have got to like it because they haven't got an alternative.
Yep.
I think this had a lot to do with the Lucasfilm story group, where they didn't want to actually have to keep track of anything that's happened before because they were all new, all fresh. It was better to start with a blank slate and consign everything into, oh shit, that happened some other time, and just start again with their Disney Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
There's some very good points made there. And I think Kathleen Kennedy is just suffering from a major dose of hubris, even though she knows she's dropped the ball massively in relation to Star Wars, the franchise itself, the fans in general. She's just doubling down and trebling down as well on things.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have somebody like that? Yes, it's all right having a strong female lead running a franchise, but she's proven, and she's got a good track record of this now, she's proven that she can't handle Star Wars.
I was going to say they thought she was good because she rose up through the ranks of Lucasfilm with George Lucas, and when Lucas left, she took over. I don't think anyone figured out that she was just the one who went and got his coffee in the morning and didn't do very much else. When
She's got her name on a shit ton of credits.
she does, but everyone gets a name on a credit. You know, you can literally just sit in the corner wiping up poo from an elephant and you get your name in the credits.
It's
I
got
don't think she
fame
can do
from
anything anymore, does she?
association.
Yeah. You just hang around with the famous people and eventually you get involved.
Yeah, she'll probably just appear on set for one episode of the recording of Skeleton Crew, and therefore gets a credit for the entire season for being executive producer.
Yeah.
It sounds that way, doesn't it? And I think coasting isn't doing the franchise any good. Doesn't matter how big a name you are. You know, if your name's on the tin and it's not doing the do, ultimately you're responsible for that.
Yeah.
And Kathleen Kennedy doesn't seem to be the kind of person who'd actually take responsibility for the massive clusterfuck that has become Star Wars.
Do you think it's actually part of Disney as a whole? Because if you have a look at Star Wars, they tend to play it safe, not take any risks. They're doing exactly the same thing with Marvel. So everything has been a mediocre, middle of the road, let's not offend anybody plot line, which obviously got nowhere, especially with things like Secret Wars. And the same with their Disney animation is they're really not pulling in the money like they used to. I mean, I think the only big one they've had quite recently was Moana 2, which was hacked to death from a TV series to make a movie. So I think it's just the mindset of Disney just to make mediocre talent that will blandly appeal to almost everybody. A bit like James Cameron's Avatar series.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm so looking forward to the third part of that coming out.
Yeah.
I've seen the first one. I can remember very little about it. I refuse to see the second one. The third one does not interest me in the slightest. There's 5 altogether, isn't there, supposed to
my
be?
God.
Apparently so. I wish I had not seen the second one because I just thought it was utter shit. It was terrible.
So you're saying that I shouldn't bother then?
No,
Right.
but to be fair,
Avatar suffers from the problem that it looks very pretty. There's a lot of money spent on making things look pretty and quite realistic, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, but it looks that good. It looks fake.
Hmm.
And I've noticed a lot of that with CGI in modern shows. It looks that good. It looks too good. It's like, it's got almost gone back to like the plasticky looking ships in Babylon 5, almost. Yeah, but a lot of it has though, isn't it?
I did love those ships though. They did look good.
All
That
done on
weird,
them.
janky feeling like watching the Hobbit trilogy in 60 frames a second, which really freaked my head out.
Yeah.
All done on Amiga 2000 computers using Lightwave.
Babylon 5.
Yeah. And I watched a thing earlier where some guy gets the same technology used in films and recreates CGI scenes, although his look really fucking janky. But it's better than anything I can do, because anything I did, like in that respect, it'd be like something done on a ZX81 compared to this guy. But his was bad. Mine would have been even worse.
Speaking of effects though, and janky effects, I think that's the only thing that Disney Wars has got going for it, isn't it? Is Industrial Light and Magic. The way everything looks, you can't really fault it. But everything else is absolute garbage. So if you can't get the writing right, the effects don't really matter. You might as well have like kids' drawings on bits of paper, like bobbing them across the screen instead of going to the trouble of animating them on, for millions of dollars.
If memory serves, Industrial Light and Magic was created with Star Wars Episode 4 because they couldn't find anyone to do the special effects,
Yeah,
and 10% of the entire movie's budget was spent on creating the original motion control cameras and
That's it.
ILM in general.
Well, they had those in the original Star Wars. John Dykstra came up with the motion control technique, didn't he, for the Death Star runs?
And the whole idea was that rather than having the ships move through space, you plotted out their course and you just move the camera around them, just entirely in sort of like a blue screen area, and then you just cut the background in, and it worked. And it worked really, really well, because then you could just do the same camera movements with 7 or 8 different ships, and it would make all the perspective, the parallax, everything be absolutely perfect.
Well, it paid off for everybody in the long run, because you've got your TV shows like Next Gen who benefited from all that technology. In fact, to a point, a lot of the Star Trek movies, obviously not the first one, because that was Douglas Trumbull, and I thought he did a spectacular job with the technology that they'd got at the time. But you've got Wrath of Khan. That was all ILM. Star Trek 3, that was all ILM. Up to a point, Star Trek 4. What the fuck? If ILM say they're busy, Shatner, I don't care how good you are, you wait for ILM.
Yeah. With Star Trek The Next Generation, ILM are actually in all of the credits, but they actually only worked on Encounter at Farpoint.
Ooh.
Yeah, weird. I don't know if they came back for some of the later seasons, but definitely season 1, they only did Encounter at Farpoint.
All right.
Really?
I know.
So would that be the original title sequence as well?
Potentially, it could be.
Yeah.
Ooh.
With the flybys.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would be ILM.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It is. It's very cool.
It's a shame that ILM couldn't fix Jude Law's Widow's Peak, though, isn't it?
He's going a bit thin on top, isn't he, old lad? He's looking a bit rough.
Well, maybe the money he got from this to be able to get some hair plugs.
Hey, good point.
But
He looks a bit sketchy too to be hanging around kids.
Oh dear.
Don't. Now then.
None of that here, thank you. We're a local shop for local people. We'll have no trouble here. Thank you.
One thing I've got to give Skeleton Crew props for is they actually used ILM on the series, a mixture of practical effects and digital techniques, and also matte paintings. So they really did go back to basics instead of the over-reliance on the volume, which they were using to death in Mandalorian and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Do you know, every time I hear Ahsoka, I think of that spoof Obi-Wan video. Did anybody else see that one?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I remember Ahsoka. She was a tasty minx.
Yes.
Whoever did that video has got some serious skills.
Whenever I think of the word Ahsoka, I just think of wet t-shirt contests.
I just keep thinking ass poker. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Could be Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. I think, do you know, she looks damn freaky in that get-up. I don't know, it's the orange on white teeth or what, but I'm thinking, is she Tango Man's ex-wife or something? You just imagine him coming round back of a fucking post box going, "Oh, Geordie, let's get a rewind." Do you remember that advert for Tango?
Oh, God, yeah.
Ahsoka running up behind Luke Skywalker and just going, "Oranges!"
Giving him a slap.
I think that started the happy slapping trend, didn't it?
Oh, no. Happy slappers had been a thing for a little while. I think they just used the tango thing as a bit of a marketing ploy. It's like, we're going to get some free advertising out of this. Let's just slappers' names on this. No pun intended.
I remember one of the Tango adverts because they released Tango in bottles, and then they released adverts saying, "This is not real Tango. If you see any about, call this number." And they had a number on the screen.
Yeah.
The funny thing was, if you called that number, the guy on the other end doesn't, "Oh, Tony, someone's called up our number." And you gave them your address, and they sent you vouchers for 3 bottles of Tango.
I really like. You remember the one where they used the Felix tune, and that fat bloke was like walking along, and he got a big crowd behind him by the time he'd done, and he got the boxing gloves on, and he was like offering somebody out. you remember that one?
Yeah, come on, we'll take you all on. Walking
Yeah.
across the cliff tops and
Yeah.
sort of like just surrounded by everybody. Yeah, what was that advert for? Was that
I think that was
that
for
Pond Regal?
the
Was
black
something
currant
ridiculous?
one.
The Blackcurrant Tango.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know
Classic
something?
advertising.
I've never been a real big fan of Tango, but I often wish that they'd bring Top Deck back because that was quality.
I used to love that.
1% Shandy.
Yeah, I know. You'd go to the school disco and you'd be there with a can of Top Deck, and you'd be like that advert. Can you remember the beer advert in The Young Ones, where Ben Elton's at the bar? He goes, "I had a pint of ordinary, and the girl, she saw straight through me. So I had a pint of Hawk, and now she's going to screw me." Can you remember that one?
No, I just remember calculating that if I drank 8 cans of that, that's the same as 1 can of beer.
Nice. And then you're pissing like a donkey for an hour.
Exactly.
And burping like an exhaust pipe for 3 days.
But it was at the disco back in 1986.
Yes.
That dodgy guy with a beard who looked like Alistair Peary from Razzmatazz.
Oh my God.
Anybody
was
used to
before my
watch
time.
Razzmatazz?
I did. Good God,
God,
alive.
that was shite.
It was crap, wasn't it? I used to hate it. I really hated it.
Anything
We were so
that-
limited to what we had, what the choice we had, though. So it was like, oh, might as well sit here and watch it and pick my nose while we'll wait for something else to come on.
But he looked sketchy to me.
Oh, he did. He did.
You-
You go back and watch the videos on YouTube now. It's a bit Dave Lee Travis like.
Yeah. I don't think he was a danger to kids, though.
No, what?
Maybe to single dads, if you know what I mean. So, is that it? Have we done roasting, or have we got anything left? Have we got anything left in the barrel?
I will say the last episode is pretty good. If you watch it, and they got the fighters and the pilot, it's ship porn basically. The ships look amazing, and the fighting is pretty good. It's just let down by the fact that it's got sort of like 6.5 episodes of crap before it. They could seriously,
yeah. And
you could do a cut. The entire series could be done entirely in 90 minutes.
And you've got that what the fuck moment right at the end where the rebellion.
Don't spoilers. Don't spoil. In case anybody's not seen it.
Yes, where they appear and stuff. Yes.
Do you think this would have been better if they'd have condensed all of it down and cut all the crap bits out and all the unnecessary meat? If they'd have trimmed every bit of fat off, would it have made a nice 2-hour movie for TV kind of thing?
It would have been better.
It would have been.
Yeah. Still would have been
think it would have
bad,
been.
but it would have been better.
Yeah, but they could have saved themselves a ton of cash, trimmed the fat right down, and got it so lean it worked.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
definitely.
It
That
might
would
have
have-
been forgiven a lot of its transgressions for being a lot tighter and just generally a bit snappier and easier to digest instead of dragging it out for like several months.
Yeah, I think it would have worked better as a small sort of like cottage industry kids movie. You know, Star Wars for kids. Because
It's so easy to fix the franchise from this point onwards, though, because people say that, oh no, Star Wars is dead. They've ruined it with this, and people don't care anymore. They could just turn it around in a flip of a coin. They could turn it around. All they need to do is like how I think Help Desk said earlier on, was reinstate the expanded universe, make an announcement of it, and say we're going to have this continuity, which is going to be like the Legends universe, and we're going to start with this movie and do this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect the stuff that's already out there and stuff that's already been. It's going to continue directly on from Return of the Jedi. So if those fans want to come back and see all this other stuff that they've been yearning for years and years and years, then it's going to be there. And then the fans that are for all the Disney stuff that's been created, that's also going to be there. So you can pick and choose and watch what you like. Everyone wins, and Disney wins because they're going to get a fuck ton of cash.
True.
So it could be fixed literally overnight, but they're so fucking arrogant.
Star Wars is suffering from the same thing Star Trek is. And unless they clear the decks, they clear everybody out, and handpick people who aren't only just fans, but people who care about the franchise, care about good storytelling, great writing, character development, people who are good behind the camera, who can make these actors get the best out of them. I mean, you've got people like Jonathan Frakes. How good would a Star Trek series be if he was directing like the whole series. I know he did 1 or 2 of like Discovery and Picard and whatnot, and I thought those particular episodes really stood out in the crowd. But I think, personally, for me, with Star Wars, Star Trek, and most of the franchises that have been fucked left, right, and centre by knob ends who are just there for their own gratification and just to make themselves look and feel good and trendy, they need to oust everybody out of every single franchise who's just there. You know, people who are just like they're like a fucking plank in the corner. They might as well not be there. Get them all out, get people in there who can make a difference, who care about these franchises, who respect the fans, and who are interested in creating new fans to a franchise. Anybody else that got any final thoughts on Skeleton Crew before we move on?
Go on.
I will say, you mentioned Jonathan Frakes. Thunderbirds, in the chat, Mr. Brown Lights, you're absolutely right. Thunderbirds was pretty terrible. So he's not perfect. Other than that, Skeleton Crew, we need to put it to bed. We need to put Star Wars to bed. We need to get it out of common memory and start again later.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible to resume in the same universe. I mean, Doctor Who took a 16, 17-year break.
Yep.
And came back fighting again with Chris Eccleston. It can be done.
Yeah.
Just get all the top EU authors, lock them in a room, and don't let them out until they've written a trilogy.
The Doctor Who always had the advantage of, because it's time-based, so you can change the past. So you can kind of erase crap that you might not have liked before by saying, oh, no, none of that happened. We've completely negated all that now.
So who just quickly, now you mentioned Doctor Who is the modern day equivalent of Sylvester McCoy? Is it going to be Scooty or is it going to be Jodie?
It's going to be Shooty because Jodie's more like Colin Baker. Is generally despised by everybody, may redeem themselves in the audio dramas.
You know, Jodie, I thought she just came across like, you know, the sympathy shag at the end of the night in the disco.
The last girl left in the disco.
Yeah,
and you think, you'll do.
Like, well, hang on a minute. You know, I'm only going to wake up next to it at about 4:25 and creep out of a window. Probably break my ankle, but I've got away with it. She is, though, isn't she? She's that sympathy shag.
Yeah,
kind of.
She was back. I mean, she's done other stuff before, and she's been okay.
Yeah, but she was brilliant in Attack the Block.
Yeah, but the problem was the direction she was given was rubbish. So it came across in the acting that she was pretty terrible, and I don't think she'll recover from that.
Well, she didn't study the character at all. Didn't research the character as a person. Well, yeah, they kind of did. I mean, David Tennant did. Matt Smith did.
I take that back. I take that back. What I was getting at there was like Jodie and Scooty, you know. But I'm still of the thought that Capaldi was shoved out purposely.
Yes.
To make way for Jodie. He didn't want to go. You could tell he didn't want to go. And I don't think they started tampering with his storylines towards the end. I think they thought, hang on a minute, if we piss him off enough, he'll go. And then we can bring this bird in.
Yeah. Because Capaldi started to get the bad writing where the writers just sort of like didn't care. But you could tell through his acting, he was giving it his all. I mean, you hear some of the monologues he's got and he gets them over so well with so much emotion. They sound fantastic. You know, the one from the story of the shepherd's boy and the bird chipping away at the Diamond Mountain. That's amazing. The one where they're in the Black Archive and you got the twin boxes, Attack of the Zygons.
Oh yes,
you feel the emotion through all of that.
That's a brilliant two-parter, I think.
It is, and and you can almost feel the pain he feels from everyone dying on Gallifrey, and it's fantastic. But the writers totally screwed him over.
It's a bugger, isn't it, when by committee they've secretly got together and said, right, how do we get rid of this guy?
Yeah.
What can we do to piss him off so much that he goes of his own free will, and then we can bring this chick in? Is she blonde? It's not like anybody at the BBC or Doctor Who are even going to make a pass at her. because she's got the wrong plumbing. And Flab makes a very good point there about Billy Potts. I think she was the most underserved assistant out of any Doctor Who ever.
Yeah.
So I thought, she didn't push the lesbian thing too far. She
literally said she was a lesbian every other episode.
It was her entire character arc. And then she ended up shagging a puddle or something, wasn't it?
Oh my god!
Well, she caused a downpour there. Let's face it. That's why she was so wet and moist. No, but I think that was the writers. It wasn't her. You could tell from an actor's perspective, she was cringing a little bit, and she died a tiny bit inside every time she had to say that shit.
Better or worse than Millie Gibson?
Well, I would say Bill Potts was a better character than Ruby.
Yeah,
definitely.
In hindsight, I'm just noticing now that they woke her name, didn't they? Just like Michael Burnham, they gave her a bloke's name.
God, don't mention black female space Jesus, because I don't want to go there. I'm still trying to get rid of all that shit out of my mind. It's not going. Well, that was a nice little roast of Star Wars, and I think those little tangents we went off on were very nice. I quite enjoyed them, lads.
We need a tangent counter, I think.
Well,
every single week we end up just deviating so far off the path. We need to keep count on them.
True. Anyway, a lot of people are saying, "Where's Brian?" Brian is in the chat, and he opted to take a seat on the bench to let Swappers have a go this week.
Oh, bless.
So good on you, Brian. Thank you for that.
Brian.
And because we've sort of got Swappers off the bench and onto the A team, we decided that we were going to talk about some hidden gems, midget gems, which you can't even say anymore because that's offensive. So we were thinking about movies.
Hey, look at this.
You mentioned this one, Swappers, Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin from 1985. This is your first hidden gem. So fire away, young man.
I saw this when I was 14 for my birthday. In May of that year, 1986 or something? And
85 when it came out.
Yeah. Took two best mates along. Mum and Dad took me to see it. First 3D film I'd ever seen, and didn't read any reviews of it or anything like that. I just saw the trailer, and I thought, yeah, I'm sold. It was handled by the same animation team that did Masters of the Universe. They did a few other things as well, but so there were character designs and things like that in it that looked very, very familiar to anyone that's seen the He-Man cartoon.
There was a lot of rotoscoping in it, wasn't there?
The rotoscoping was pretty heavy, and it's beautiful because I love those old the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings animation, and it kind of it did evoke that in a lot of ways. It's a very, very simple story, and it does rip off Star Wars an awful lot. And it was criticized heavily for being very derivative at the time. But for a bunch of kids in their early teens, it was just perfect to watch. And I can still look back at it fondly now and still watch it again and enjoy it. I saw it a couple of years ago. I think it was on YouTube anyway. I just sat and watched it, and I still enjoyed it for what it was. And you can kind of criticize it and say it needed a bit more of this and a bit more of that, whatever. But it's a rollicking good romp and a really good ride all the way through from beginning to end. The character designs are great. The voice acting is awesome. The musical score is great. The production design of all the characters and the starships and everything like that's awesome. The animation's beautiful. The animation effects are beautiful. And I can't really fault it, for what it is. It's just a beautiful piece of nostalgic 80s entertainment. And not many people know about this film, even, from that era that were around watching stuff. I can still say to people my own age now, do you remember Star Chaser Legend of Orin? Never heard of it. What are you talking about? So, I can kind of introduce it to them for the first time. But I'll watch this every couple of years and I'll never get tired of it. It was really great. And watching it in 3D was bloody excellent as well, because you really saw how they put a lot of thought into the depth of field. And the way they had certain effects coming out of the screen at you. If you watch it in 2D now, you can go, oh, I bet they did that for the 3D, etc. It worked so brilliantly. And all three of us loved the whole thing from beginning to end. We couldn't wait to get it on video.
It's available on the high seas. A lot of people in the chat saying they've never seen it. It is available on the high seas.
Yes, indeed. I'm just looking on YouTube now to see if it's there. I think it is.
There is a thing about it on there, but this was originally produced in stereoscopic 3D. Now, there were a lot of films at that time, like Jaws 3D, and there was a bit of a revival, wasn't there, in 3D stuff, and even films on ITV old westerns being shown in 3D. So it was where you had to watch it with the original blue and red glasses. Now, the posters at the time claimed it was the first animated feature made using this process, but what they didn't realise was there was an Australian film called Abracadabra. It's hard to pronounce, but it's not abracadabra, but it's abracadabra. That was released 2 years before that in 1983. So they came out with this bold claim, oh yeah, we're the first. And then somebody went, nah, you're not, you dringos. We did it before you, you bastards. But I thought there was some great, but like you said, great voice acting in there. You've got Carmen Argenziano. Now, people might not recognize that name, but he was the voice of Dag Debrimi. He was like the Han Solo character, wasn't he, Swappers?
I loved him. I love that character. You could totally see it was a Han Solo ripoff, but he's kind of like an amalgamation of characters. But yeah, he was very much like Han Solo.
Cigar chomping, and he'd got a robot hooker, what he'd reprogrammed.
Oh, she was what a beautiful design character she was.
She got a sweet ass, I tell you that much.
Yeah, for a piece of metal, I tell you would. Z would get extremely excited. If
I'm getting excited right now.
I'd give her a rusty box.
I loved how she went from this kind of hard-nosed, bitchy, girl bossy type dominatrix sort of character. And she got reprogrammed and she went all sort of lovey-dovey. I thought it was brilliant.
She went from bitch to babe in the swipe of a smart card.
But it would never pass today, would it? You'd never get away with that today.
You know Carmen Argenziano, right? The guy who did the voice of Dag.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Stargate SG-1 as Jacob Carter, Sam Carter's dad, who became a member of the Tok'ra.
No way, I didn't know that.
And he was also Bruce Maddox, not Bruce Maddox, Mr. Maddox in Knight Rider 2000.
Wow. I haven't seen that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, he was like the new head of the Foundation in the movie, and it was the voice of Kiff, the Night Industries 5000, wasn't it? I think. Kift, was it? The red car.
Yeah,
he was the original voice of the microprocessor. And another connection to another sci-fi series, Lord Zygon. You remember who was like the Darth Vader character who turned out to be an actual robot at the end, but he was one of the first robots ever. Was a guy voiced by a guy called Anthony DeLongis. Anybody recognize that name?
No.
From Star Trek Voyager. Do you remember the Kazon?
Yes.
He was first Maj Colour.
No way.
Was he really?
Yeah. He's also a stuntman as well, on and off as well.
Blimey.
Bizarrely. I thought he was great as Maj Colour.
He appeared in Babylon 5.
He did as Harry Henry. I can't remember. It was Harry or Henry, I remember. Very, very distant in the back of my mind. But I do remember him being in B5. Anybody else seen Star Chaser Legend of Orion, or is it just me and Swappers?
It's just you two.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, though. The soundtrack blew me away. The first time I watched that, my brother Dean got it from the video shop. It was quite considerably older than us, but we really appreciated him bringing that on video because it was a Sunday afternoon. There was snooker on. My dad were a knob, and we outvoted him, and we watched this on VHS, and it was fucking immense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a little bit gutted that it wasn't in 3D, but you don't really need to have it in 3D. It just adds that bonus element to it. It was
it's close to the bone as well in a lot of respects.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I loved about the cinema experience using the 3D, it wasn't the red and blue 3D. It was like the lenses were clear. And I was like lifting them off and putting them back on my eyes again to sort of see the difference. You lift them off and everything looked blurred. You put them on again and everything was super clear and in 3D. And it was like the new, it must have been a new kind of cardboard glasses technology, but it worked really well. I'd love to get a 3D version of this again if possible, if they ever made it. But yeah, it was just brilliant. You like you say about the soundtrack, superb, like I mentioned earlier.
Did you go boz-eyed when you took the glasses off?
Probably, I didn't see myself.
Oh,
I actually know how that works. It is rotary polarization. You have one that has a spiral going to the left, and the other lens has a spiral going to the right, and you have matching filters on 2 separate cameras or 2 separate projectors, and they're just lined up pointing at the screen. And so you get 2 different perspectives, but they have to be filmed at the same time with 2 cameras literally separated by a few centimeters.
why have they never made any Scandinavian films using this technique? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would
be great in VR now. Just stick the headset on and
no. I think VR, I don't know what it is about VR, but it makes me go really like seasick.
Yeah, I get that now as well. Yeah.
Isn't it weird? It's like after about 10 minutes, you're like, am I going to puke now?
Yeah, I know.
You also don't want to find yourself in the middle of a gangbang.
Yeah.
Not in VR when they're all dressed as furries.
Not when they're surrounding you, and they're all big black guys with massive...
I can't escape. Oh, God.
Just a bit of a flashback to last week's Monday Night Mayhem. MC says, I watched Robot Jocks last week on my recommendation. What did you reckon to it, MC? Was it well worth it? Anyway, that was Star Chaser, Legend of Orin.
We'll just add Tread on the end of that. It might look like a kid's movie, but there are some very adult elements to it. Can you remember the bit at the start when Orin escapes into the real world and he finds those mutants, those cyborg mutants?
Oh, that want to chop him up, yeah.
Oh, it gets really nasty and dark and violent and all sorts of bloody and stuff.
It gets very dark and grim.
Yeah. So, you know, there are elements. I mean, that's why we loved it as kids, because it wasn't a typical sort of a kiddie experience. It was quite adult in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly recommend it. Go and check it out.
A lot of really dark and gruesome deaths and all kinds of things, and rude, like slapped arse jokes and stuff. And it was
it was great. Yeah,
it's like there was stuff in there for the dads. You got your Saturday morning dads who took the kids to the cinema, and you know there was stuff in there to keep them entertained. It's like, well done, Dad. Thank you for bringing your kids to see this crappy movie.
Yeah,
here you go. Here's a treat for you.
It's very unwoke as well.
It is a sign of the times when things were a lot simpler and you didn't have to have this fucking awful mind rot going off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on to your next film, Swappers. Do you want to hang on? There we go. Strange Days.
Indeed, yes. This came out in
95.
Well, I thought it was 96, but maybe it was 95. It surprised me how good this was. A bunch of us went to go and see it. We didn't know. We just saw the trailer and thought it looked interesting and didn't read any reviews. And I thought the premise sounded quite interesting. And the film wasn't what I expected. I don't really know what I expected. Probably some kind of sci-fi near future action drama. But it turned out to be a really, really interesting premise about almost like VR, this technology that's in the movie, where you can record your experiences, your mental experiences, and save them on a disc. And you can give these discs to other people to experience. If they've got the same unit, they can basically not just hear and see your experience, but they can feel it as well. They can completely live that moment themselves.
Do you want to know something, a strange fact about those discs?
Yeah, go on.
I'm holding one of those discs in my hands.
Is it a Sony mini disc?
It's a Sony mini disc. I've got a mini disc, a batch of mini discs in here, and that's what these discs were. But the one thing that always blew me away about this film, they ripped off. Go on, you know what I'm going to say. Brainstorm.
Brainstorm. Oh God, yeah, of course.
The Christopher Walken movie.
Yeah.
The premise of this, for me, I'm sorry to railroad you, but I'm on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on.
But this was like a mix of Johnny Mnemonic, a bit of The Matrix, and I mean, directed by Catherine Bigelow. Yeah. And you can tell James Cameron wrote this, and he wrote it with a guy called Jay Cox. So you've got your stars. You've got Ralph Fiennes in it, Angela Bassett, who looks super fucking fine.
This is one of the things. That's one of the things I'll take away from this movie is how oh my god, I was lusting over Bassett for bloody years after this movie. She was so fit. in
Or
this film.
you've also got Juliette Lewis in it, and I've got a thing for Juliette Lewis. Although I have heard a rumor that she's been a bit rough in that department, and I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. But what I didn't notice in the back of my mind, it had got Private Pile in it, Vincent D'Onofrio, who's now the Kingpin.
Yeah.
It also got William Fichtner in there, and Michael Wincott, who was in Alien Resurrection.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, it was good. And do you know, I knew you'd like this film because the premise is a former cop who's turned into a bit of a street hustler accidentally uncovers a conspiracy.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. That's what I mean. Unbeknownst to me, I was into that kind of thing way back then, but that's probably thanks to being exposed to the X-Files, etc. So it segued very nicely straight into Strange Days, and it's kind of a Black Mirror kind of experience as well. This movie, where it's kind of this is where technology could take us if we go in that direction. This is what could happen, and they kind of double it all up with a murder mystery as well, which is very cleverly done. There's a neat twist in it. But all those things, conspiracies and all that sort of stuff, weren't necessarily my takeaways. It was more sort of how sexy Angela Bassett was, and Juliette Lewis's nearly bare ass for part of the movie.
Do you know, Angela Bassett is the only reason I watched Supernova.
Supernova? I don't think I've seen that.
The one with James Spader in it.
No, I haven't seen it.
Lou Diamond Phillips.
I'm gonna have to go and watch this.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah,
when we've got a bit more time. But there was something else this film reminded me a little bit. I kind of got like a Existenz kind of feel off it as well.
Yeah, true.
Whether that's just with the wetware, shall we say? Is it wetware they call it?
Yeah, this kind of a variation of VR, isn't it?
And it kind of had that feel to it.
Yeah.
Which was it's a very underrated film.
It really is. I'll tell you what, I still to this day can't fault it, and I don't understand why it wasn't a lot bigger than it was. It came out at the same time, I think, very, very near to Trainspotting, and me and my mates were going to the cinema every week to see something. There was, we were spoilt for movies back then in the 90s, and I think there was Toy Story, Trainspotting, and this were my big three of that period. And when I saw this, I just thought, this is incredible. Everyone's going to love it. And it kind of petered out, and no one really kind of cottoned onto it, which is why I suggested it for this slot, because I walked out of the film absolutely blown away by it. I absolutely loved every minute of this movie, in every respect: special effects, soundtrack, acting, writing, you name it. And ridiculously, I don't own it. I should really buy the Blu-ray of this because I'm sure there's loads of great extras on it. But I bet looking back at it now as well, because we're looking back at the 90s and technology is nowhere near what it is now. You could probably go like, oh, that's not how it turned out. Oh, that's, technology or communications didn't turn out that way, etc. Because there were no mobile phones back then. There's barely the internet. There was all this stuff that we had back in the late 90s that probably didn't exist in this film. But the one thing that that amazed me after I'd finished watching it, that I always posed to other people that had seen it, was what would happen if you and your girlfriend are and you're both recording the experience, and then afterwards you go for a round two, but you swap over the things on your head, and you both play your own discs to each other, and then you end up. Oh no, that'd be a bit weird, wouldn't it? If you screw yourself.
Wouldn't you have an inverted vinegar stroke if you're a bloke?
It's a good. You know what? This could create all kinds of. All kinds of theories and philosophies.
You'd probably spunk out your nose.
That just means you're full.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Or you get the gush, one of the two.
I'm surprised I'm not leaking everywhere. It's been quite a while.
Oh no! Oh dear.
Well, I'd say something, swappers. They are fantastic picks.
Thank you very much.
I like them. Very, very good. Our next batch, and these are quite good choices, and I like this. Z, you picked this one first. Dark Angel from 1990.
Dark Angel, yeah. Also known as I Come in Peace in the USA.
Or I Come in Your Mum in Finland.
Exactly right. It's an action sci-fi movie where Dolph Lundgren plays a cop on the edge, called Jack Kane, which is akin to Jake Bullet from Red Dwarf. He's forced to team up reluctantly with an FBI agent and tackle a bizarre crime wave on this straight to VHS gem. It's about an alien drug dealer who arrives on Earth to harvest human endorphins, which he extracts from the brains of his victims by overdosing them on heroin.
As you do.
And it's got Dolph, it's got titty bars, it's got aliens, heavy weaponry, casual homophobia. What is not to love? And it's also got everyone's favorite generic Asian bad guy, Ao Leong.
Yes, and I like in the credits, Matthias Hughes is just down as bad alien.
He is.
Isn't his name something like talcum powder? Talc, that's it. I know it was something to do with talcum powder.
But he does actually say very, very little in the movie, apart from I come in peace.
Did you know, right,
Catchphrase.
an interesting fact about Matthias Hughes I've just discovered, who played the film's alien bad guy, performed all of his own stunts because there were no doubles who could match his size of 11 inches.
Wow.
Oh, God.
He was 6'5". He was a big lad, apparently.
Very, very tall guy.
And he got them boots on as well, and that made him look even bigger.
He was absolutely bloody ginormous. And the guy that was going after him as well, because there's two aliens in the movie. One of them is playing a cop who's trying to get hold of him, basically playing Dolph Lundgren's role from the alien's point of view. He's also quite a big jungus and wouldn't want to get in his way. And I love their weapons as well, 4 different settings of mayhem.
Ah, yeah, I remember that now.
And you just like switch them on and they just destroy everything in front of you.
Wasn't there a thing, I'm sure I read it in Starlog or something, that while they were filming it, Dolph Lundgren did a roundhouse kick and actually laid somebody out for several hours?
I did not know that.
Can you imagine that? You've knocked him out, Dolph. If he dies, he dies.
Oh, and you got that really fantastic cliche line at the end where Talit goes, I come in peace. And Dolph goes, and you go in pieces, asshole.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Crikey. I don't think I've seen this film for 30 years?
Yeah, it's been a favourite of mine since I first watched it. I didn't see it at the cinema. I don't think it even got to the cinema in the UK. It's one of those things that a mate had on VHS. We went back to his place, got absolutely drunk, and instead of sucking each other's cocks, we decided to watch this instead.
As you do on a Friday night after playing pool and darts. Blimey, I normally played Nintendo back then. I didn't think about having somebody's sausage in my mouth. Sausage, added sausage. What's it doing? What's it thinking? But that's a great film. And it's one of those, yes, it went straight to VHS. And what lets it down is the fact that people see Dolph Lundgren and they think, hang on a minute, we'll give this one a wide berth. But it's actually a real gem. It was one of those in the video shop. It was, 2 Mega Drive games and a movie, and that was it. This was, the movie that you'd put up with for renting Road Rash 2 again.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
And the alien's got a great weapon, which is sort of a lethal CD, which he hurtles around rooms and towards people's throats. It's absolutely hilarious. If you haven't watched this before, just download it. Just pirate it now. Watch it. Nobody's going to care.
Flav says CDs used as weapons. Yes, that's correct. But it was a good effect. I liked it.
Yeah.
And yes, his weapon was impressive.
It was a mighty weapon.
He was a big lad, and his weapon was equally as large. Anybody else see this movie apart from me and Z?
I have seen it. I can't really remember too much about it, but I think I'll get this film mixed up with a Rutger Hauer movie that was very similar.
No, it's. Are you thinking of Split Second?
Maybe I am. Was that film? I remember Rutger Hauer running around some sewers.
Yeah, it's Split Second.
Yeah, that was it. Was it? Yeah. I keep getting those two mixed up.
Do you know, I can never remember his name in that movie, but I always remember the guy who was his rookie partner was Dick Durkin. And he was a Scottish guy who was in a lot of adverts at the time. And then he turns up in this Rutger Hauer movie, and he's just We mentioned it, didn't we? Was it last week where we mentioned Split Second and we're on about Kim Cattrall? Oh, it was when we were talking about Porky's, and we brought up the topic of Split Second. Yeah, I remember now.
I'm looking at the screenshots online now. Yeah, it is Split Second. And there's an alien running around and he's got to kill it. And it looks, the mood of it looks very similar to this film. Obviously, it's not this film, but I remember the Punisher movie from the era as well. He looks very similar to when he was in that. So they must have been very close together when they filmed them.
Is that the one where Thomas Jane plays Frank Castle?
No. Dolph Lundgren did.
Oh, it's that one. Yeah. I actually thought Thomas Jane did a good job as the Punisher.
I missed that one completely. I didn't see that.
You know?
Yeah, it was all right.
I thought he did a really fucking bang up job on that.
I'll have to go back and watch it. But from the images I saw from that film, I thought Thomas Jane looked too much like a nice guy and not sort of nasty enough. But maybe I'm wrong on that. I'll have to go back and see it. But yeah, I need to watch this film again because it's been too long. I do remember seeing it. I just don't remember anything about it.
Chef Help Desk, have you seen this film by any chance?
I have not. Dolph Lundgren was one of those, people. I watched a couple of his movies and they didn't interest me, so something like this would have just passed me by. But it looks interesting, so I'll find it. I'll give it a watch.
If you thought this film was bad, wait till you see what Z's next film is, and I'll let him do the talking instead of me railroading everybody. But here we go, Extra from 1982.
Okay, right. Now, I don't know whether this could technically be classed as a video nasty, but the basic summary of this movie is an alien creature impregnates a woman who gives birth to a man who was abducted by aliens 3 years ago. And the man tries to reconnect with his wife and son and make alterations to them.
Oh my God.
For a sinister purpose.
The birthing scene in this monster of a film will have you reaching for the brown paper bag. I shit you not.
What?
It's on YouTube, I believe.
Oh God.
Dear God.
But yeah, this really freaked me out when I watched it. It was the first movie to actually freak me out. My dad got it on VHS. He just basically said, "What do you want to watch while you're with me?" And obviously, being heavily into sci-fi, I don't know, something with aliens in. And this is what he brought back.
As you do.
I'm just reading the plot on Wikipedia. Every single sentence is worse than the one before.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. So, like, they visit the farm where they used to live, and then one of them is knocked out and used as a womb for alien eggs, and then another pair start to shag, and then one of them starts to bleed and decompose, and then there's an upturned fridge, and then you... Oh, Jesus Christ.
If you want one of the most
awful,
fucked up sci-fi horrors of all time, forget Aliens, get Extra.
Excellent.
Oh my God.
I think it also spawned 2 sequels, but I haven't watched them.
You're right. And
Yes.
do you know, it's weird. The only person in hindsight, that I recognised in the cast was Miriam Darbo.
Mm.
She was in it, if I remember right. But Philip Sayer, who was one of the lead characters, he was actually Welsh. And he'd got about 40, 50 credits to his name, but he mainly did stuff on the BBC. He was a classically trained actor.
Oh, really?
But yeah, if you mention impregnates and aliens, what's that one I'm thinking of? Is it Inseminoid? Anybody seen that one?
Oh,
God, what
You
a
don't even need to
film.
see that. You just need to hear the title, don't you?
Yeah,
I
you
know.
can gain everything you want from that. Jesus.
Yeah, but this is proper freaky sci-fi horror. It's got a 5.6 on IMDb. It is as bad as it sounds, but it's still going to be my recommendation.
It's a good one. I like it. It is borderline video nasty. It's in that territory, isn't it? I quite like it. And let's have some more classics. Now, this film, when it came out, Project A, 1983, it's not to be confused with a Danish adult movie of the same name.
Oh my God.
No, it
Help
is not.
Desk, this is one of yours, so if you want to talk us through it a little bit.
This is one of mine. So, okay, all of mine are actually quite nice movies, and they are actually worth watching. This is one of Jackie Chan's early works. Obviously, he used to be sort of like a stuntman for Bruce Lee, left to set up his own sort of like stunt school. And this is one of the movies that he made after that. Project A, it's a story about police and pirates, arms dealing, and it features some of the best sort of like kung fu action. And one of the stunts in it, he's handcuffed to a flagpole. He climbs all the way up the flagpole, jumps over to a clock, is dangling by the hands, and then falls 3 stories through
Woo.
sort of like cloth awnings. The stunt goes wrong, and he smacks into the metal bar of the last one before flopping on the floor, but then carries on acting.
What?
The movie itself, and it was physically him doing the stunt, and you can see every bang on the way down. You can see the pain in his face. The whole movie's like that.
Oh my
And he carried on though. He sucked it up and just cracked on.
He did. It's a beautiful movie. It's got a good plot, and the characters are great. And it's MC checking out the other project.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, this
It's
is
Danish,
definitely
1978.
It's definitely worth watching if you like kung fu, because it's the proper Jackie Chan comedic kung fu movie.
Fantastic.
And it's great. It really is just a great watch. Has anyone else seen it?
No,
I
I haven't heard of it.
I've seen both versions.
Oh my god.
I liked the bicycle. There's a bicycle chase scene. They're being chased by the bad guys, and they're on bicycles, and they're going through really narrow alleyways. One of the ways he gets away from one of the bad guys is he puts his feet up on each wall, swings his bike, and knocks him in the face. And again, that bit went wrong because he picks his bike up, turns it round, and as he goes to jump on it, the seat had fallen off.
And we're right about that saddle, be like sitting on a razor blade.
And you can see the pain on his face, and he's jumping around, grabbing the seat, slaps it back on the bike, and carries on.
Ooh.
So is it subbed or dubbed?
You can, I
There's
think it's
2
it's
versions,
subbed.
isn't there? There's one that is subbed, and there is actually another one that is dubbed.
Is there a dub? I haven't seen the dubbed one. I've only seen the subbed one. It's more
When this got shown on, it was shown on BBC 2, if I remember right. It's either this or Police Story I'm thinking of.
Police Story was the one that I might have gone for, but Project A just picked it for me.
Yeah, it's either this or Police Story. When it was shown, it wasn't Alex Cox's movie Drone, but it did have like some other guy was trying to do a similar thing. I can't remember who it was. And they showed one of these movies, and I'm sure it was dubbed. But if you look at the credits for this film, director Jackie Chan, writer Jackie Chan, stars Jackie Chan, electrician Jackie Chan, food Jackie Chan, makeup Jackie Chan, toilet cleaning Jackie Chan.
Yeah, like I said,
Nice.
he'd just gone off to start his own thing, so he was doing a lot of the work himself, and it's a fantastic. It is so fantastic. You really got to give it a watch.
It is. It's a cracking film.
And it is on YouTube, apparently.
How bad is that? It's like everybody's picked out these hidden gems, and I've seen them, and I agree that they are hidden gems. And it's only now I'm remembering that I've seen half of these things. This is a good one. Gavin Blackburn says in the chat, I haven't given the chat much attention tonight. I do apologise because I'm doing more than one thing and I've got ADHD and it doesn't work. But Gavin Blackburn says, pegged by a bicycle. I'm not quite sure what that means, Gavin. Honestly. That is a good pick. And your second film for this evening, sir, is this one.
Yep. I went a little bit left field with this one. If you haven't seen it, you do have to watch it because it is ridiculously funny. When it says a screwball comedy, it's not kidding. Even though it stars Barbara Streisand.
Is there any actual screwing of balls in it?
No.
That's a shame.
She gets to sing a song at one point, but that's the only downside. Other than that, it's hilariously funny. The entire premise of it is that there is a bag that is filled with government secrets. And it's having a handoff after a night at a hotel. But there is a matching bag that contains priceless jewelry, and another one that just contains Tumbula musical rocks, just literally just rocks.
Hmm.
And then a fourth one that contains ladies' clothes. And it's what would happen if all four ended up in the same place at the same time and accidentally kept on swapping.
Yeah, couldn't make it up.
But the comedy is so ridiculous in it, and it all happens in such subtle ways. And then you get to a point where, there was one point where Barbara Streisand finds herself in Ryan O'Neill's room, so she takes a bath. He then comes back, and his fiance's on the phone. She says something, so the fiance tries to come in, so he pushes her out the window to stand on the window ledge. She nearly falls off. She's hanging by her fingernails to cover the sound of that. Ryan O'Neill turns the television up. People are banging on the wall, so he tries to unplug it from the wall, but the plug's stuck in the wall. So as he pulls it out, it then makes the curtains catch on fire. The entire room burns down. She smashes back in through the window. And then the next day, the manager comes in and says, "Please, would like you to leave." Yesterday. It's just sort of, from something such a simple action, the entirety of the movie is based, and it just happens over and over and over again. And there's a fantastic car chase, and it's set in San Francisco, so you've got the massive hills and the cars go jumping. It's
Is there any tramp shitting in the streets?
No, but there is a Chinese festival where they're on a bike and they get caught up in the parade, and they end up stealing the dragon and just cycling down a hill very, very fast.
Wouldn't that be weird if Ed Sheeran was in it as well?
It's brilliant. It is a great movie. It is. You start laughing near the beginning, and you do not stop laughing until the end.
Well, this is kind of like an odd pick for the genres we cover, but you know,
I am a fan of classic comedy. I love a good classic comedy. You give me anything sort of like Day to Day, Brass Eye, young ones, all these proper retro stuff.
Brown or Brass Eye?
Brass Eye.
Oh, sorry.
Brown Eye.
Have you been doing cake?
What? Joss Ankler's spunky backpack? No, not at all.
I love the bit where Bernard Manning goes, "If you do fucking cake, you're a daft twat." Health advice from Bernard Manning.
Yeah, and if you have no idea what cake is a made-up drug. It is created in factories. It is entirely made.
It's a made-up drug. He's rubbing the noses in it, but because they're all sycophants, these celebs.
Yeah, they read what's written in front of them.
It does me when they get Noel Edmonds, and he does go hook, line, and sinker. I'm sorry we're kind of rushing this, but we've only got 8 minutes left, so 2 more to squeeze in, and these are mine. First one being Soldier. Anybody else see this classic from 1998?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Kurt Russell, Jason Scott Lee, Jason Isaacs. You got Sean Pertwee and Mr. Buttered Sausage himself, Buttered Sausage, Gary Busey in it as well. What a great film! Anyway,
Are you going to continue there?
now I'm driving a bus through the fucking gap. It's basically a bunch of they're not genetically enhanced, but they're batch-grown soldiers trained from birth, and they later become obsolete and dumped on a waste planet, where Kurt Russell's character Todd ends up sort of becoming acclimatized to being in a society. And then Jason Isaacs comes along with his new batch of soldiers, and they want to clear the planet, you see. But Kurt Russell's going to save the day. But there's also a bizarre connection with Blade Runner. Anybody remember that connection?
There's a spinner in the junkyard.
Not just that. There's another connection. Go on. You're so close with this one.
Oh God!
By saying spinner.
There's a gun in it. There's a gun in it from Deckard's gun or something like that.
No, one of the battles where Kurt Russell's character Todd is decorated was at the Battle of the Tannhauser Gate.
Oh my God! Wow.
Ooh,
Okay.
Yeah.
shared universe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought that was a real gem. You know, it's like, wow, this is in the same universe as Blade Runner.
Very cool.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Who's
It's been
seen
a
it?
very long time since I watched this.
Wasn't
Sorry, I
Sean
just-
Pertwee in this as well?
I already said that. Yep.
You did.
Wake
Sorry,
up.
I was coughing when you must have said his name. Yeah, I remember
You
watching
weren't.
this
You were
thinking,
checking out that other Project A.
shh, God's sake! I've only seen the
Sorry.
trailer. I was like,
Sorry.
I was watching it thinking like, oh, Sean Pertwee's character is a bit shortchanged in this. You know, he's got his missus with him, and then Kurt Russell comes along and starts knobbing his wife or something, and before you know it, they're sleeping together. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this guy's got no emotions whatsoever, and he's managed to pull this bird. Is that what we need to do in life? Is go out into the world to get a girlfriend? Is be completely emotionless?
Well, he had to adapt to different kind of weapon usage. So
Yeah, it must be his trigger finger adeptness managed to sort of.
do you know what really got me about this movie? And this is a thing about Jason Isaacs. All the characters he's played, I've despised, and he seems to be able to play despicable characters so easily. And I don't know, he's just got one of those faces or what, but you look at him, and if you were in a boozer, you'd want to twat him. Or is that just me?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's probably why he plays a lot of cads.
I don't know what character did he play in Event Horizon? Was he an arsehole in that as well?
No, he was in that with Sean Pertwee as well.
Oh, Jason
bizarrely
Isaacs.
enough.
Yeah, they're both in
Wasn't
that.
he?
Weren't
Wasn't he? He wasn't Smitty because that was Pertwee's character.
they? Yeah,
But wasn't he one of the engineer crew?
I think you might be right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Anyway.
Yeah, he does look a bit sort of evil though, doesn't he? Naturally.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to have to make this one short because I want to squeeze this one in. Because this next film is finger-licking good. I don't know if anybody's seen 1989's Wes Craven fantastically underrated movie, Shocker, which is about a serial killer who's sent to the electric chair and uses electricity to come back from the dead and carry out his vengeance on a kid who turns out to be his son. And it stars Peter Berg as Jonathan, Mitch Pileggi from Stargate Atlantis, who plays Colonel Stephen Caldwell. Also, he was the guy who killed Devon in Knight Rider 2000. Because he was Thomas J. Watts in that. It's also got John Tesh in it, who was from Entertainment Tonight. Ted Raimi's in it. And also Michael Murphy, who was in Phase 4.
God, I had no idea.
And according to Wes Craven, the film was severely cut for an R rating. It took around 13 submissions to the MPAA to receive an R rated instead of an X rated movie.
Oh, I want to see the X-rated version.
Some of the scenes are actually in the VHS release. There's a scene in it where he's like praying to this TV demon, and he's connected up to his TV, and there's all these sparks flying. He's going, "Come on, give it to me!" And this big pair of lips comes out the TV and goes, "You got it, baby!" And it shocks him. And then these prison guards with this priest turn up, and they think, "Oh no, he's fried himself." So this vicar goes and he goes, God damn this blasphemy. And this TV's blowing up. And then these prison guards are like, oh no, he's gone and fried himself. Warden's gonna really give us a kick in. Got to get him mouth to mouth. And he says, no, it's not. He's an animal. So anyway, this guy starts giving him mouth to mouth. And after about 4 or 5 goes, as this guy goes down to give him another lungful of breath, you see his mouth open and his teeth, and he grabs hold of this guy's lips. And then it's like, ah! And this other guy gets his fingers in to try and like part his mouth apart. And then he bites this guy's fingers off, and he's like, finger licking good. There's like loads of classic one-liners in it. But we've got 2 minutes left. Anybody seen this apart from me?
Yeah, I have seen it, but I can't remember much about it, although you did bring back some memories just then. But this is Assistant Director Skinner, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. They're Walter Skinner. In fact, Mitch Pileggi has been in a load of things, and I always think he's a good character actor. Very underrated.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great in Stargate Atlantis.
Very, very.
And that's pretty much our time up. We've got 52 seconds left. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. Sorry I've not got around to being too chatty with you in the chat, because I'm still getting my head around this. And I'm a bit of a knob end. and technology does me. So I am trying my very hardest to work around everybody and, get me head around it. But I'm floundering. In fact, I am Flounder from Animal House. But I want to thank everybody on the panel tonight. Swap Shop, thank you as always, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome. This has been a good couple of hours having a good old chat about old movies. Really enjoyed it. Maybe back next week if there's room.
Well, we will see what happens. Cookery Help Desk, thank you, sir. You've got 8 seconds.
I set fire to nothing. I'm happy about that.
Thank you. Z3PO, you've got 4 seconds.
Kill all humans.
Nice. Thank you for joining us. Fuck